Welcome to Justice Insight Cam. We showcase raw bodycam recordings of actual law enforcement stops. Beyond the dramatic footage, we carefully interpret the law, the factual reality, and the profound lessons hidden in plain sight. Let's focus on the pursuit of justice.
The probability of paternity is 99.99%. Mr. Coleman is the biological father.
Daddy?
Sorry.
Your Honor, the results are back. The courtroom is so quiet you can hear the paper tremble. A bailiff stands near the door, posture rigid. A court reporter's fingers hover above the keys like she's afraid to make noise. Even the air conditioning seems to pause, as if it understands what's about to be said. At counsel table, a black father in a dark hoodie sits with his elbows on his knees, hands locked together. His jaw is clenched so tightly, the muscles jump near his temples. He hasn't looked at the child in the front row for more than a second, because he's been saying one sentence for months. "She's not my daughter." He said it to the caseworker. He said it to his lawyer. He said it into a microphone at his last hearing, in front of strangers, in front of a judge. And now the judge holds a sealed envelope, like it weighs more than his gavel. "Mr. Coleman," Judge April Sykes says, voice steady, "I'm going to read the finding into the record." The father, Darius Coleman, swallows hard. His ex, Keisha, sits 2 seats away, shoulders squared, eyes shining but unblinking. She's been waiting for this moment like it's the only thing that can end the rumors. In the front row, 8-year-old Maya swings her legs above the floor, too small for the bench, clutching a crumpled drawing in her fist. She doesn't understand DNA, she understands tone. Judge Sykes breaks the seal. Her eyes scan the page. Once, twice, and then her expression changes. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just certain. "The probability of paternity," she reads, "is 99.99%. A sound escapes Darius. Not a word. A breath, like his lungs forgot what to do. The judge continues. "Mr. Coleman is the biological father." For a full second, nobody moves. Then Darius's face collapses, like something inside him finally gives up holding the weight. He drops his head into his hands. And he breaks. Not quietly. Not politely. He breaks like a man who has been running from love because he thought love was a trap. And suddenly, he realizes the trap wasn't the child. It was the lie he built to survive his own fear. To protect privacy, names, locations, and some details are reconstructed. This is a fictionalized composite inspired by common family court dynamics around paternity disputes. Darius didn't always doubt her. That's the part people don't understand when they hear the headline version. They imagine a man who never loved the child, who never showed up, who just wanted out. But Darius showed up, at first. When Maya was born, he was the one who paced the hospital hallway with a vending machine coffee and a face full of fear. He was the one who cried in the corner when he heard her first scream, because the sound didn't feel like pain. It felt like proof. He signed the birth certificate. He bought the first car seat. He sat on the couch at 2 a.m. with a baby on his chest, whispering, "I got you," like saying it could make it true. For the first 3 years, the photos looked normal. A father lifting a toddler onto his shoulders. A little girl in pigtails covered in frosting. Darius holding her hand at the zoo. Face softened in a way his friends rarely saw. Then life did what life does. It squeezed. Work got unstable. Money got tight. Keisha and Darius started fighting about little things that were never little. Who was late? Who forgot daycare payments? Who got to be tired? And beneath all of it, a deeper crack grew. Trust, because trust, once bruised, keeps hurting even when nobody touches it. It began with a rumor, not a random rumor from strangers, a rumor from someone close enough to feel like family. Darius's cousin, Reggie, said it one night at a cookout. voice low like he was doing Darius a favor. "Bro," Reggie murmured, "you ever notice Maya don't really look like you?" Darius laughed at first. "Man, she got my smile," he said. Reggie shrugged. "I'm just saying," he replied. "People talk." People talk. 3 words that can set fire to a house. Darius should have shut it down right there. He should have told Reggie to mind his business. But Reggie kept going. "You know, Keisha was out there," he said. "Back then, before y'all got serious." Darius felt something shift, not certainty, suspicion. And suspicion is a seed that doesn't need water. It grows on its own. That night, Darius went home and watched Keisha sleep and tried to convince himself he was being stupid. But his mind wouldn't let him rest, because Darius had another secret, a medical one, a fact he never liked talking about. When he was 19, Darius was in a motorcycle accident, not life-ending, but body-changing. He'd spent weeks in recovery, months in physical therapy, and one humiliating afternoon in a doctor's office where a specialist told him, gently, that he might have fertility issues. "Might," the doctor said. "We don't know for sure, but it's possible." Possible. Another word that can ruin sleep. Darius never told Keisha the full story. Not because he didn't trust her, because he didn't trust himself. He didn't want to be the man who couldn't give his partner a family. So when Maya was born, it felt like a miracle. And when Reggie planted that rumor, the miracle turned into a question. And questions, in a tense relationship, become weapons. Darius confronted Keisha the worst way, sideways, not with a direct accusation, with little tests. He asked about old friends. He asked about dates. He asked questions that sounded casual but weren't. Keisha noticed. "What are you doing?" she asked one night, standing at the sink while the water ran. Darius tried to laugh. "Nothing," he said. Keisha turned, eyes sharp. "You're acting like I did something," she said. Darius shrugged. "You ever think—" he started. Keisha waited. He couldn't say it, so Keisha said it for him. "You think Maya isn't yours," she snapped. Darius froze. Silence filled the kitchen. Maya, 3 years old, giggled in the living room at a cartoon, unaware that her world was being questioned behind a wall. Keisha's voice dropped. "You want a DNA test?" she said. "Say it." Darius's pride rose like a shield. "I'm not saying that," he muttered. Keisha laughed once, sharp, bitter. "But you are," she said. "You're just too scared to say it out loud." That fight didn't end. It became a background noise in their marriage, a hum, and eventually they split. Not just because of that, because of everything, but that doubt was the spark that kept lighting the dry wood. When the custody case began, the court saw the usual story at first. 2 parents, 1 child, arguments about schedules, arguments about money, arguments about what's best. Darius wanted joint custody. Keisha wanted primary custody with visitation. They argued about pickup times, about holidays, about school, and for a while, even with the tension, Darius showed up. He picked Maya up on Saturdays. He took her for burgers. He carried her asleep from the car to his apartment. He was trying. Then the payments started to hit him. Child support, medical costs, back daycare fees that had piled up during the split. Darius, already struggling with inconsistent work, started to feel the pressure like a hand on his throat. And that's when Reggie's rumor came back, not as a whisper, as an explanation. "You paying all this for a kid that might not even be yours?" Reggie said, louder this time, in front of other men. Darius felt his face heat. Someone laughed, not cruelly, but enough. Darius went home that night and stared at his bank app, then stared at Maya's photo on his fridge. He loved her. He hated himself for even thinking this. And still, the thought arrived. What if I'm being played? That thought didn't come from logic. It came from fear, from humiliation, from a part of him that believed life never gives you something good without taking something back. So he did what desperate people do. He tried to rewrite the story before the story could break him. He filed a motion. Petition to disestablish paternity, a DNA request. And in the filing, he wrote the line that would later haunt him. Child is not biologically mine. Not I have concerns, not I request confirmation, not cautious, a claim, a hammer. Keisha found out through the court notice. She was at work, front desk at a dental clinic, when her phone buzzed. Motion filed. She opened it, read it once, then again, and her hands started to shake. Not because she was afraid of the test, because she understood what the claim would do to Maya. Because kids hear things. They don't need full sentences. They need tone. They need distance. They need the way a father stops showing up. Keisha left work early and drove straight to her mother's house. When she walked in, her mum took one look at her face. "What happened?" her mum asked. Keisha held up the phone. "He said she's not his," Keisha whispered. Her mother's eyes hardened. "Then we make him say it in front of a judge," she said. "Family court is not like criminal court. It's quieter. It's more fluorescent. It's filled with tired people carrying folders like armor." The first hearing lasted 14 minutes. Darius stood at the lectern with his attorney, Malcolm Price, a public defender turned family law grinder who spoke in careful phrases. Keisha stood with her attorney, Amina Brooks, who had a voice like a scalpel. Judge April Sykes listened. Then she looked at Darius. "Mr. Coleman," she said, "you signed the birth certificate." Darius swallowed. "Yes," he said. "You've held yourself out as the father," she continued. "Yes," he said again. "And now you're claiming this child is not yours," the judge said. Darius's eyes flicked toward Maya, sitting with a caseworker in the back. He looked away. "Yes," he said. Keisha flinched like she'd been slapped. The judge leaned back. "Very well," she said. "We will order genetic testing." Then she added, pointedly, "And until results are returned, existing orders remain in effect. That includes parenting time." Darius nodded, but his face was blank, because he wasn't hearing the judge. He was hearing only one thing. "Soon I'll know, and if I'm right, I'll be free." That's what he told himself. Freedom, like love is a prison, like a child is a debt. The testing process was simple: a clinic, a swab, a technician with gloves. Maya climbed onto a chair, swinging her legs. She held a lollipop in, her fist like a prize. "Does this hurt?" she asked. Darius stared at her. "No," he said quietly. Maya tilted her head. "Why are we doing it?" she asked. Darius's throat tightened. Keisha stepped in fast. "It's just something the judge wants," she said, forcing a smile. Maya nodded like it made sense, because kids accept what adults normalize. Darius watched the technician swab Maya's cheek, then his own. The cotton felt dry against his mouth. He signed a form, and when the technician sealed the envelope, Darius felt a strange relief, because whatever happened next, the doubt would stop. He didn't realize that the end of doubt is not always relief. Sometimes it's grief. While they waited, the case escalated, because the claim, "she's not mine," didn't stay in the courtroom. Darius's mother heard it. She called him, voice shaking with anger. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "I need to know," Darius said. His mother's voice sharpened. "You needed to know 8 years ago," she snapped. "You held that baby. You promised, and now you're embarrassing her." Darius felt his chest tighten. "You don't understand," he said. His mother laughed once. "No," she said. "You don't, because you're letting pride tell you that love is optional." Then she hung up. Darius sat in his car and stared at the steering wheel for a long time. He still didn't back down. because backing down meant admitting he might be wrong, and wrong felt like humiliation. Maya started to notice the distance, not because anyone told her, because kids are small detectives. They track patterns, they track tone, they track the way adults stop saying certain words. One evening, after Darius missed a scheduled visit because he didn't feel right, Maya asked Keisha a question in the back seat. "Did Daddy forget me?" she whispered. Keisha's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "No," she lied gently. "He didn't forget you." Maya stared out the window. "Then why doesn't he come?" she asked. Keisha swallowed. "Grown-up stuff," she said. Maya nodded, but her voice came out quiet. "I didn't do anything," she said, and Keisha had to bite the inside of her cheek to keep from crying in front of her. The day of the results, the courthouse felt heavier, not because of crowds, because of anticipation. Darius arrived early, pacing the hallway, hands sweating. His attorney tried to reassure him. "It could go either way," Malcolm said. Darius shook his head. "It won't," he muttered. Malcolm glanced at him. "You sure?" Darius's voice dropped. "I was told I couldn't have kids," he said. Malcolm blinked. "You never told me that," he said. Darius's jaw tightened. "Didn't matter," he replied. But it did matter, because it explained why Darius had clung to the rumor like a raft. If he believed he couldn't father a child, then paternity felt like an error, and errors can be corrected. That was his logic. Cold, defensive, wrong. Inside the courtroom, Judge Sykes took the bench. She looked at both parties. Then she looked toward the front row, where Maya sat beside the child advocate, feet swinging. The judge's gaze softened a fraction. "Before we proceed," she said, "I want to remind everyone that there is a child in this matter. Your words have consequences beyond this courtroom." Darius stared at the table. Keisha's lips trembled, then the judge opened the envelope. And we return to that moment. 99.99%. Biological father. The room goes still, and Darius breaks. He doesn't sob like a movie scene. He sobs like regret, like 8 years of love rushing back and colliding with the months he tried to deny it. Malcolm Price touches his shoulder. "Darius," he whispers. Darius can't speak. He shakes his head again and again, as if shaking could undo the claim he made. Keisha covers her mouth with her hand. Not triumph, relief, because she didn't want to win. She wanted the truth loud enough that Maya could stand on it. Judge Sykes waits. She gives Darius a full minute. Then she speaks. "Mr. Coleman," she says, "this court does not take lightly the harm caused by disputing paternity of a child you have raised. Do you understand the result?" Darius wipes his face with the back of his hand, eyes red. "Yes," he croaks. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge's voice stays firm. "And do you understand," she continues, "that your daughter has been listening to the world tell her she might not belong?" Darius's shoulders shake. "I didn't," he starts. The judge cuts him off, not cruelly. "Intent does not erase impact," she says. Then she does something unexpected. She looks at the child advocate. "Ms. Redding," she says, "would you bring Maya closer?" Maya stands, clutching her drawing, and walks toward the front with small steps. Darius looks up and sees her, and his face changes again, because he realizes the DNA didn't stun everyone. It stunned him. Maya stops near the rail, eyes wide. She looks at Darius like she's trying to solve him. "Daddy?" she whispers. Darius's throat tightens so hard he can barely breathe. He stands, slowly, hands open. Judge Sykes raises a hand. "Mr. Coleman," she says, "you will not approach unless she is comfortable." Darius nods. "I know," he whispers. He drops to one knee like the world just taught him humility. "Maya," he says, voice shaking, "I'm sorry." Maya blinks. For what? She asks, honest. Darius's eyes fill again. For making you feel like you weren't mine, he says. Maya's lower lip trembles. But I am, she says, not a question. Darius nods. Yes, he whispers. You are. You always were. Then he does the thing nobody expected from the man who came into court demanding disestablishment. He looks at the judge. Your Honor, he says, voice rough, I withdraw my motion. I withdraw all of it. I was wrong. I was scared. I was stupid. Judge Sykes holds his gaze. Fear makes adults do terrible things, she says. Your job now is repair. Repair. That word lands like a sentence, not punishment. Work. The judge issues orders. Paternity confirmed. Child support remains. Parenting time reinstated and structured. Co-parenting counseling. And a requirement that Darius attend a family therapy intake with Maya. Not because therapy is magic, because the court understands something Darius is only beginning to learn. A child's trust is not restored by a lab report. It's restored by consistency. Outside the courthouse, the air feels too bright. Darius stands on the steps, staring at his hands like they belong to someone else. Keisha approaches slowly, keeping space. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't smile. She looks tired. You did that in front of her, she says quietly. Darius flinches. I know, he whispers. Keisha's voice shakes. She asked me if you forgot her, she says. Do you know what it's like to look at your child and lie to protect you? Darius's eyes drop. I don't deserve, he starts. Keisha cuts him off. This isn't about what you deserve, she says. It's about what she deserves. Darius nods, swallowing hard. I'll fix it, he says. Keisha's eyes narrow. Don't promise, she replies. Do. The first visit after court is awkward, not in a dramatic way, in the way real life is awkward when trust has been bruised. Darius arrives 10 minutes early at the community center, where their first supervised visit is scheduled. He sits in a plastic chair, hands sweaty. A social worker brings Maya in. Maya stops in the doorway. She looks at Darius with a cautious stare. Not hatred, assessment. Darius stands slowly. Hey, he says, voice gentle. Maya doesn't run into his arms like she used to. She walks up and hands him the crumpled drawing. It shows two stick figures, one tall, one small, and between them, a big heart. Darius's chest tightens. I drew it, Maya says. It's beautiful, Darius whispers. Maya tilts her head. Are you really my dad? She asks, needing it in plain words. Darius kneels. Yes, he says, and I'm sorry I made it feel like a question. Maya's eyes water. Did you want me? She asks. That question is a knife, not because it's cruel, because it's pure. Darius's voice breaks. I wanted you more than anything, he says. I just let grown-up fear make me act like I didn't. Maya looks at him for a long time. Then she steps forward and leans into him, careful, like she's testing whether he will disappear. Darius wraps his arms around her like he's holding something sacred. He doesn't squeeze too tight, he just holds. And for the first time since the rumor started, the world feels quiet. Months pass. Not magically, slowly. Darius doesn't become perfect. He becomes consistent. He shows up, he pays, he listens. He apologizes again, not once, but in actions. He stops letting Reggie's voice into his decisions. When Reggie jokes about DNA drama, Darius shuts it down. Don't talk about my daughter like that, he says. Reggie laughs. You got soft, he teases. Darius doesn't blink. I got responsible, he replies. At a later review hearing, Judge Sykes asks Maya, gently, how things are going. Maya shrugs the way kids shrug when they don't want to be dramatic. He comes now, she says. 3 words. He comes now. The judge looks at Darius. Keep earning that sentence, she says. Darius nods. Will, he replies. If you've made it this far, here's the uncomfortable truth beneath the courtroom twist. The DNA result didn't create fatherhood. It exposed it, because Darius's real breakdown wasn't about biology. It was about realizing he almost abandoned a child who had already built her world around him. And when you've been that child, or you've watched a child go quiet from adult chaos, you understand why a judge's words can feel like a lifeline. Intent is not a substitute for responsibility. Fear is not a defense. And love without consistency is just a story people tell themselves. So the final moment isn't the envelope, it's not the percentage. It's the way Darius looked at Maya and finally understood that his greatest power wasn't walking away. It was staying. Because the most shocking thing in that courtroom wasn't the DNA. It was a grown man realizing that pride almost cost him the one person who had loved him without conditions. And when he broke down, when his voice cracked and his knees hit the floor, it wasn't weakness. It was the first honest thing he'd done in months, the first step toward repair. And for Maya, that repair mattered more than any number on a lab report, because at the end of the day, children don't remember percentages. They remember who came and who didn't.
Thank you for watching today's analysis. If you found this information valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to Justice Insight Cam. Stay vigilant, stay secure, and join us for our next detailed report.